If you're living with a child who seems fine for everyone else but saves the chaos for you, I know exactly what that feels like. And if someone has used words like reactive attachment disorder, neurodevelopmental trauma, or oppositional defiant disorder in reference to your child, and you're quietly Googling at night, I've been there. I'm Christine. I raised a child with reactive attachment disorder. I've lived through hospitalizations, residential programs, false accusations, child protective service involvement, police coming to my home, and court. I've also worked professionally in trauma and attachment, but what I want to talk about right now tonight is what it feels like inside the house. Reactive attachment disorder is not difficulty bonding. It is not just behavior problems. It is not just oppositional behavior. It is a child who feels unsafe with closeness. It is a child who experiences love as exposure. Sometimes closeness can even be a threat to their sense of safety. It's a child who uses control to feel safe, and control does not look like what you've been told it looks like. Our kids can be charming outside the home, but explosive inside. Some teachers would say to me, I don't see that, and they didn't believe me. Others handled the behaviors in ways that made it so much worse at home. Therapists see the regulated version of my child, where they calmly send them on a circus sideshow with fabricated stories that waste another week in therapy. But I would often look tense and angry in therapy. Sometimes I fell apart and cried almost the entire time. You may start doubting yourself. I doubted myself for years. Us parents of reactive attachment disorder kids often think we're the problem. You're probably not. I'm going to walk you through understanding how you are not the problem and how you can start shifting the patterns in your home and what you do have control over. This is the part no one talks about. Closeness can escalate behavior. The harder we lean in and love our children, the harder they push away. Empathy for these kids can backfire, and consequences can escalate their behavior. Rewards increase control. Oh my gosh, how many therapists had me creating reward charts that just created more problems? Explaining to our kids can trigger power struggles, and stress can create such conflict with our partners. We become too stressed to relax and enjoy calm evenings with our spouse. If traditional parenting advice is making things worse in your house, that doesn't automatically mean you're doing it wrong. Some kids experience authority or intimacy as a threat. And when they feel threatened, control becomes a regulation, and control feels powerful. Feeling powerful for any of us reduces our sense of anxiety. I had to have an entire paradigm shift where I learned this because maintaining control while being kind and loving is a skill I hadn't learned yet. I actually didn't even understand how to do that. One of the hardest parts of this is how isolating it is. Sitting in therapy feeling unseen. Actually, sitting in therapy and literally being unseen. Feeling like professionals think we're too rigid or too structured, sometimes telling us both in the same session. They think we're not connecting enough. Meanwhile, we're living in constant vigilance. Friends can't handle our constant crisis, and they often drop off afraid of our child's behavior, influencing their children. And honestly, they're just traumatized by the stories we tell. It's very hard to explain something that only makes sense when you're living inside of it. This channel is not sensational, it's not dramatic, it's not parent bashing. If your child has attachment trauma because you were not present, well, maybe they're in the NICU as a baby, or because of your addiction or your mental health being a factor, you will not find shame or blame here. Just supportive and gentle conversations to help you through. And for those of you who are adopted or grew up in foster care, this is a really sensitive subject. This channel is not claiming that adoptive children are difficult. It's about how to raise children with early attachment trauma and how to do so with kindness, dignity, and boundaries. Reactive attachment disorder is a rare condition that only occurs when children have been separated from their primary caregivers very early in life, in the first 2 years. It's more often seen with foster and adoptive children because it's more easily recognized there. However, it absolutely occurs in a family where maybe one of the parents died early, a parent has been deployed repeatedly or separated for other reasons like prison or extended repeated work trips. Because I know what this work looks like, I often recognize it in families where there's been no foster adoptive interventions. It can occur if you were placed in the NICU as a child because they're premature or ill with childhood cancer or another illness where they were isolated. Those children are more likely to receive different labels later on, like oppositional defiant disorder or intermittent explosive disorder in their teenage years when the behaviors become very apparent. Work with these kids is steady and it's slow. The reality we eventually need to come to is that you can't love this out of a child. You cannot consequence it out. You cannot explain it out. You stabilize the system, your home being the system. You become predictable and unhookable. They just need to not be able to upset you anymore. You remove shame. You do not shame a child. We do not shame the other parent. We don't shame ourselves anymore. And you learn to hold boundaries without emotional intensity. One of our difficult realities is that sometimes psychiatric assessment is necessary, sometimes hospitalization, sometimes residential treatment. This is not a failure, it's stabilization. And we're going to talk about that. I'm doing this channel because I couldn't find grounded conversations by parents who understood and navigated this successfully. Most videos are old, clinical, or dramatic. Some of the therapists talking about this are so very wrong in their understanding about what is happening. They use words like manipulative or describe the child as liking getting us worked up. That is so unhealthy and so misguided. I wanted something calm. I wanted someone to say, yes, this is real, and to understand me. I never found that. Realistically, we've become secret keepers. We can't tell even the people closest to us what we're dealing with because to others the behaviors feel moral. They are not safety and control responses. The behaviors result from the child going in and out of states of fight, flight, or freeze. If you're here, I'm guessing you're exhausted. Start at the beginning of the playlist. These videos build on each other. We're going to talk about control, escalation, empathy, discipline, regulation. We talk about the really difficult situations with sensitivity and what to do when really bad things happen and how to navigate what happens next. This is step by step. You're not crazy for struggling with this, and you're not weak for needing help and support. Stay here. We'll walk through it steadily together.